What if the world's most beloved cuisine was built on ingredients Italy did not have until 500 years ago? And what if some dishes were invented so recently that the grandmothers who supposedly passed them down were not yet born? Today on Recipe Lab, we are breaking down 10 foods the world thinks are Italian that were actually invented somewhere else entirely. In the 10th place, the tomato, a fruit native to Mexico, did not arrive on Italian soil until after Columbus sailed home. For nearly 2 centuries, Italian elites eyed it with suspicion and branded it a dangerous relative of deadly nightshades. Rome's kitchens, for 1,000 years, never tasted a tomato. Yet in the dusty gardens of the rural South, peasants quietly began cultivating this strange red fruit, drawn by its resilience in tough soils. The breakthrough came in 1692, when Antonio Latini, a steward in Naples, published the first printed Italian recipe for tomato sauce, a sauce intended not for pasta, but for meat and vegetables. Before that, the tomato was more curiosity than cuisine. The myth of the timeless Italian tomato cracks under the weight of history. For most of Italy's story, there simply was not a tomato in sight. Number 9. Pizza began as a hand-to-mouth meal for Naples' poorest workers, sold from makeshift stands and eaten on the street. The word itself appears in a tax ledger from 997, centuries before anyone thought to add tomato. That leap, a flatbread topped with tomato, shows up in 1620 in a cookbook, when the fruit was still an outsider in Italian kitchens. By 1841, police records in Naples document street vendors fined for hawking pizza without a license, proof of its low status. The transformation comes in 1889, when Queen Margherita's visit inspires a patriotic rebrand: red tomatoes, white mozzarella, green basil, an edible Italian flag. In the 20th century, immigrants landing in New York and Chicago shaped pizza into thick, crusted, cheese-laden forms that conquer the world. What started as a survival food for the desperate becomes a global icon, reinvented far from its birthplace and forever tangled with the myth of Italian authenticity. 8th place, pasta, as we know it, owes its existence not to ancient Rome, but to Arab technologists in medieval Sicily. In 1154, the geographer Al-Idrisi wrote, "These dried pastas are produced in Sicily. They remain baked, are hardened, and are left to dry in the sun." The Arabic word he used, itriya, described long, sun-dried strands pressed through brass molds, a method utterly foreign to the soft, fresh sheets of Roman lagana. Archaeological finds in Palermo still reveal brass presses matching Al-Idrisi's account. It took centuries for Italian cooks to industrialize and popularize dried pasta, transforming an Arab import into a global staple. The story of pasta isn't one of pure Italian invention, but of cross-cultural technology, borrowed, perfected, and then claimed as national heritage. Number 7. Catherine de' Medici's marriage to the French king in 1533 set off a culinary exchange that runs counter to the usual story of Italy as a food importer. The legend claims Catherine brought tomatoes, pasta, and even the fork to France, transforming Parisian banquets overnight. But royal inventories from the 1530s and French cookbooks from the early 1600s paint a more intricate picture. Italian cooks staffed the French court, and recipes for boulange à l'italienne and even salsa di pomodoro surface in Paris decades before the tomato became a staple in Italy itself. The earliest French mention of tomato sauce appears in a 1620 manuscript, not as an exotic import, but as a technique already circulating among elite kitchens. Historians now see Catherine's influence not as a single revolution, but as a gradual, reciprocal transfer. Italian methods filtering into French haute cuisine, just as later French sauces and techniques would flow back into Italy. The myth of Catherine as culinary conqueror dissolves under archival scrutiny, revealing a two-way street where national boundaries blur. and the idea of a purely Italian or French kitchen falls apart. Number 6. Tiramisu enters the scene with a twist that rewrites the dessert's entire backstory. While menus around the world treat tiramisu as a timeless Italian classic, the first traceable recipe appears in 1958, tucked away in the municipal archives of Treviso. That's right. Tiramisu is younger than the microwave oven, and it did not make it into a single major Italian cookbook before the 1980s. The story gets even more modern. The restaurant La Beccaria in Treviso, with chef Roberto Linguinato, claims the original, layering espresso-soaked ladyfingers with mascarpone in a way that feels like it has always existed. But the records are silent before the late 1950s. No mention in the culinary Bibles, no sign in the sweet shops of Rome or Naples. Within just 2 decades, tiramisu leaps from local novelty to global sensation, fueled by myth and marketing. Sometimes the most authentic Italian desserts are born in the age of instant coffee and satellites, not in centuries-old kitchens. Number 5. Espresso embodies the collision of global trade and Italian ingenuity. The story begins far from Turin or Milan, in the highlands of Ethiopia, where wild coffee beans first fueled Sufi mystics and Arab traders. By the 17th century, Venetian merchants ferried these dark seeds into Italy's port cities, yet for 200 years, coffee remained a slow, communal ritual, brewed gently in copper pots. The revolution came in 1901, when Luigi Bezzera filed a patent for a pressure-driven machine that could force hot water through tightly packed grounds, producing a concentrated shot in just seconds. Trade bulletins from Milan and a 1902 newspaper article marked the birth of espresso as an industrial feat, not a folk tradition. But the story does not stop at the bar. After World War II, American GIS, stationed in Italy, found the sharp bitterness of espresso overwhelming. Their solution was to dilute it with hot water, creating the Cafe Americano, a hybrid born of necessity and nostalgia, now a fixture in cafes from Rome to Wisconsin. Even the word espresso signals speed, not origin. What the world calls Italian coffee is a global invention, pressed into existence by foreign beans, modern machinery, and the restless demands of a changing society. Number 4. Gelato's story begins not in Florence or Rome, but in the medieval Arab world, where sharbat, iced fruit syrups, were already described in 12th century Baghdad manuscripts. Centuries before Italian gelatery lined city squares, Sicilian cooks harvested snow from Mount Etna's ice pits, layering it with sweetened juices in a ritual inherited from Muslim rule. In 1686, Francesco Procopio dei Coltelli, a Sicilian entrepreneur, opened the Café de Procope in Paris, serving these frozen confections to the city's literary elite. French aristocrats swooned for what they called glace, while back in Italy, the name gelato slowly took hold. The creamy, churned dessert we now associate with Italian identity is in fact a cosmopolitan creation, shaped by Arab science, Sicilian adaptation, and Parisian fashion. Today's artisanal gelato owes as much to medieval sharbat texts and the snow harvesters of Sicily as it does to any Italian innovation. Coming to the top 3, focaccia traces its roots not to a single Italian town, but to the shared breadbasket of the Mediterranean. Long before the word focaccia appeared in a Venetian tax roll in 1277, Phoenician traders were baking flatbreads on hot stones and carrying them across the sea, survival food for sailors shaped by necessity and trade. Roman soldiers knew it as panis focaccius, or hearth bread, a staple baked on the embers and eaten on the march. But the signature feature, the deep dimples pressed by hand, served a practical purpose. They trapped pools of olive oil, preserving moisture for days at sea. Ancient provisioning texts list oil-rich flatbreads among the rations for long voyages, a detail echoed in the archaeological grain residues found at shipwreck sites from Carthage to Sicily. Focaccia's lineage stretches from Phoenician ovens to Roman military camps, and finally, to the olive groves of Liguria. Its story is not just Italian, but pan-Mediterranean, a bread shaped by migration, empire, and the enduring logic of survival. Number 2. Mozzarella stands as a paradox at the heart of Italian culinary identity. The cheese that crowns pizzas and fills caprese salads begins with a creature that never set foot in Italy until foreign traders brought it there, the Asian water buffalo. Native to the river valleys of South and Southeast Asia, these animals arrived in Campania by way of Byzantine and Arab livestock routes during the early Middle Ages, 1,000 years after the Roman Empire had fallen. The first documented recipe for mozzarella di bufala appears not in some ancient Roman banquet, but in a 1570 Ferrara court manuscript describing a fresh cheese made by stretching and cutting buffalo curds. By 1646, Neapolitan farm registers list entire herds dedicated to this new dairy practice. The European Union now guards mozzarella di bufala campana with a protected designation of origin, as if this cheese were the purest expression of Italian terroir. The reality is more tangled. Italy's most patriotic cheese is built on the back of an animal from Asia, transformed by centuries of adaptation and only recently enshrined as a national symbol. In the end, mozzarella is not a story of pure invention, but of foreign biology, local ingenuity, and the relentless power of reinvention. And finally, in first place, the Italian-American kitchen rewrites the very idea of what it means to invent a cuisine. Spaghetti and meatballs, now a global shorthand for Italian comfort food, first appeared in a 1915 New York newspaper, not a trattoria in Naples. In Little Italy, immigrants faced a new economy. Meat was suddenly affordable, pasta was cheap, and the result was a one-plate meal engineered for survival and celebration. By 1919, immigrant cookbooks in New York formalized the recipe in both English and Italian, cementing it as a staple of working-class adaptation. Then, in 1927, Hollywood turned fettuccine Alfredo into a national obsession. Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks, fresh from their Roman honeymoon, brought tales of a buttery, creamy pasta back to California. Paramount Pictures spun the story into a press campaign, and Alfredo sauce, barely known in Italy, became a symbol of glamour on the American table. After World War II, returning soldiers and waves of tourists carried these inventions back across the Atlantic, where they landed on Italian menus as alla Americana. What the world calls Italian food is, in so many ways, a feedback loop, immigrant improvisation, American abundance, and the relentless power of reinvention. The Italian-American kitchen doesn't just borrow, it transforms, exports, and ultimately reshapes the very myths of authenticity. If Italian cuisine is a story of exchange, nowhere is that story more vivid or more surprising than in the kitchens of New York, Chicago, and beyond. Across all 10 entries, one pattern shatters the myth. What we call Italian food is a masterpiece of borrowing, reinvention, and bold storytelling. Italy's genius is not invention alone. It is turning foreign roots into national icons. Culinary identity is never pure. It is built on migration, memory, and myth. Drop your thoughts below and subscribe for more myth-busting from Recipe Lab.